did some in-house cleaning. We restructured a little. So we now, of course, have restructured how our committees work, shortening ourselves from 3 committees within the commission to 2 committees, one on planning and regulation, and the other, of course, on executive matters. That was kind of a nice little way to kind of streamline things for the public as well, as we also moved our meetings of those committee meetings to Thursdays before our full commission meeting, making it easier for the public to be part of the process, and of course making it easier for our representatives, especially those from areas like Provincetown, to make that hour trek out rather than twice a week but once a week. So in terms of matters outside of the commission, the wastewater 208 update is moving along as planned, and on March 1st the commission did start the process of delivering the final report to the DEP and the EPA. So that process is coming to a close real soon, which is great because that's been about 2 years worth of work, and we can't thank commission staff enough for that. The regional policy plan will be underway shortly as we are reaching the 5-year update, and of course we have a lot of work to do in Barnstable County, so there's a lot of discussions that will be taking place, and my hope, of course, is the town of Falmouth will be deeply involved with those discussions, and I would encourage anybody who is interested to attend those meetings when they are publicized. There will be, of course, public meetings all throughout Cape Cod. They're going to follow the same structure as the wastewater 208 update to the plan, and of course you'll see meetings for Upper Cape, Lower Cape, Mid Cape, as well as broken down meetings for the individual towns as well. So I do hope that Falmouth takes a big stake in that process, as we have an investment in our future, and the regional policy plan is an investment in our future, not just for Falmouth but for the county. So that was my brief update for the board, and I will entertain questions in a moment. However, I do have a bit of sad news, bittersweet. It has been, without a doubt, an absolute pleasure to serve the town of Falmouth and to serve Barnstable County for the last 2 years. My term is up in April. However, as of today, I am officially resigning my post as Falmouth representatives to the Cape Cod Commission and vice chairman of the Cape Cod Commission. Work has afforded me an incredible opportunity, which has taken me to Boston. So I'm relocating to Boston, and like I said, it's bittersweet. I have enjoyed my time serving the town, not just at town meeting, but also as chairman of the Affirmative Action Committee and as vice chairman of the commission. But the opportunity that work provided me was just way too good to pass up as a 24-year-old. So I definitely had to take that when they said, oh yeah, there's only 5 nationwide. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah, definitely. So with that being said, I do have my letter here of resignation that I will be submitting to the board. And I do want to thank the Board of Selectmen and thank the public for affording me these incredible opportunities to serve my hometown for the last 4 years. So.
Well, I'm not sure which is a stronger feeling on our board, the congratulations for your new position or appreciation for the work you have done on behalf of Falmouth, and having people of your age coming forth and really putting in such time and energy, and the commission is a huge time and energy demand. We really very much appreciate what you have done and the leadership you've taken for the younger people in this town. So thank you very much, and we wish you best of luck. Are there any questions for Andrew, either from the audience or from the board? I guess not.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Congratulations.
Selectman Moran asked me just to point out that Chairman Flynn has gone home. She was doing her best to be here as long as she could, knowing she was not feeling well, and just had to go home at this point. Our next item of business are to hold some interviews for committees. The first, the Bikeways Committee. We have one position. It's an unexpired term ending June 30, 2015. First interviewee is Devin Enos. Devin, if you come to the podium, give us a brief introduction about who you are and why you'd like to be on the Bikeways Committee, please.
Okay.
wife and I moved to town about 6.5 years ago. Cape Cod resident, and been in biking pretty much my whole life. And just figured I can tie those two things together, being in bikes and becoming more of a member, part of the town by joining the Bikers Committee. I think I have a fair amount of knowledge in that field to hopefully bring a little bit more to the table and maybe help with some ideas that are already in the works and just kind of see how things work a little more in this town. So with that, I hope to be a part of it.
Questions from the board?
Can you just give a minute on what biking means to you and what it means to you in relation to the town?
Everything. It's brought me everything, actually. I recently just took a job at Corner Cycle about a year ago. After commuting 6 years to the Lower Cape, I was working at a shop down there. And I had a great opportunity come to me, so it's really afforded me to be able to stay here with my wife and soon-to-be child. And I can't be any more thankful than that. I really just, I have some ideas. I've been getting a little more exposure, with different businesses across the country, and I think I might be able to come up with some ideas that may or may not already have been imposed around town. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear throw out an idea. I'd love to hear what idea you think Falmouth could be doing better.
Well, it's something like, I was just chatting with Kevin Lynch a few minutes ago, and I commute to work just about every day. It's 8 months out of the year. And I think having bike lanes in and around town would be very helpful. Some better signage. Parking, which I know my boss is currently doing a good job finding places to park bikes around town. But yeah, I just think bike lanes would be a good one. That's a really popular subject right now, everywhere. Kind of starting in Colorado, and it's making its way west and east.
A question I have for you that may be different than the other candidates, but I'm just curious. What's sort of the most surprising question that someone from coming to your store from outside of Falmouth has asked you about biking? I mean, is there a humorous story you could just tell us about? Say, boy, never thought they'd come up with that kind of a thing.
I want the least expensive, lightest weight, most comfortable bike I can buy. They make them.
They do.
But there's definitely sacrifices that have to be made. And it's pretty funny now talking about them with customers. They've gotten out of control. The technology has definitely taken hold, and they're running with it. And again, I think share the roads and just bike lanes in general are a big part of biking right now. So I hope to be able to tie that into this town. Very good.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next candidate is Ivan Lima. Again, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Bikeways Committee.
Yes, my name is Ivan Lima. I work at Hui. I've been a resident of Falmouth for about 12 years now. I've used my bicycle as my main means of transportation for the last 20 years or so. But I mostly kept it to myself. I just rode my bicycle and my own business. But after I moved to Falmouth, I became friends with one of the members of the Bikeways Committee. And he told me about what they do and how. And I thought it was time to step up and contribute. And maybe I thought my experience, biking so many different cities and the places I live in the U.S. could be, help make this a better, cycling community. Been here for 12 years, raised my daughters here. I'd like them to be able to ride their bicycles like I did when I was a kid, and go places and not just be a toy.
Is there a specific thing you can think of that some city does? They say, boy, Falmouth, that is behind the times. We should be doing that sort of as our immediate step.
Not really. I understand one of the things I like about it, because we know we have limited resources, but I think whatever resources we have, they've done a wonderful job. We're not New York City. We cannot make, exclusive bike lanes everywhere, and like some other towns do. But those sharrows and whenever they repave a lane, like when they did Gifford a few years ago, and they just increased the shoulder by a foot or so. For a cyclist, that's life-changing. It makes a huge difference, and so I think that's the right way. You can't just spend millions of dollars building infrastructure. We don't have that, but there's a lot of little things where open up a path between Falmouth is so have these clusters of housing, and you have to get between them. You need to go to Gifford or Sandwich, if you can link those things without getting through this main, so avoid the big traffic, the fast cars. There's a lot of little things, and that's where I think without spending a lot of money, we can make a big difference.
Question? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, indeed, thank you.
And our next candidate is Joanne Fishbein.
Hi. So, it's a lot of the same reason. I have a friend who's on the bike race committee. He's talked to me about it, the kinds of things the committee's doing. And as a resident of town for 32 years, I've used the bike path. My kids grew up riding that bike path. Used it to commute to Woods Hole for years to get to work. This summer we're hosting some teenagers. I know that's going to be their means of transportation. And some of them will be going in another direction. I think it's time that Falmouth had safe ways to get across town, not just north and south. So that's one of the things I feel strongly about, that I think I would hope the committee might do. But I also think one piece that I think has been lacking that I'm not aware of is just education. I think there are a lot of people who are both drivers and bike riders who don't know the rules of the road. I have been out at night and I see people riding their bikes wearing black and they don't have reflectors on. I think it's important that we educate both our children, the community, I think drivers about what the rules of the road are for both them and the bikers. So I think that's the piece I'd like to see the committee doing that I'm not aware of happening right now. So I've been a teacher for a while. I ran a computer program for seniors. I like to educate. I think there are ways to reach out in the community in other ways, not just the paths themselves. So.
Along those lines, one of the things that often occurs at the bike path when they hit a road, the law and the sign says, stop, get off your bike and walk it. That's just not a reality. Most people don't do that. How would you suggest, what should we do at that point? I mean, what's the...
Well, I think one thing that really does work, the intersection at Terhune Drive, where you have a fence that forces people to stop. I mean, you have to slow down to get around that. So either whether it's a bump, a fence, some kind of obstacle that forces you to stop. But it's true, people don't stop at intersections. But I think education, I think it's important that our kids, if we encourage them to ride, then we teach them the rules, not just wearing helmets, but what it means to stop at intersections or stay in your lane or stay on the right and pass on the lane. I think all of that's part of what we need to incorporate into what the committee does.
Okay. Questions?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Do you feel prepared to take a vote this evening on this one?
Uh,
Not easy.
It's by motion, or I forget how
We each vote.
Four.
Yep. And I'll start with that. So are you prepared to vote?
Sure.
Okay. Sam?
Joanne Fishbein.
Sue?
Second,
So also Joanne Fishbein?
yes.
And I will also vote for Joanne Fishbein. I would also express appreciation to the other two candidates. Very much thrilled that we have people coming forward for these. It's not common that we actually have to have a vote because often we have one spot and one person comes forward. So I apologize we have to choose among one of the three, but thank you very much for coming forward, and Joanne, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I hope for those of you that didn't get appointed that you'll continue to put your application in, because we would welcome you on that committee if an opening
And there will be
pops up.
terms coming up at the end of June, and this is open right now, but other terms will be expiring in June.
And just one comment, Mr. Lima in particular, I thought the idea of the alternatives was really interesting, and I just wanted to put a little spotlight on that because we do have a problem with some of our roads not being wide enough. So the idea of alternatives, I just think I really like the out-of-the-box thinking, and, all the candidates are great.
Sure.
Kevin Lynch, Precinct 3, a member of the Bikeways Committee for, since 1988. You know, and they had to go off for a couple of years. But I'd like to invite these people that did put that is come to the Bikeways Committee and give us the ideas and whether they can work with us to get those things to make bicycles better in Falmouth.
Thank you,
Hi,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Our next interview is for constable. We actually have two positions, and we have one candidate, Kevin Casey. Is Mr. Casey here this evening?
Thank you.
No, we will have to hold off on that. I believe that is one that we actually have to have an interview for. We cannot just appoint
Yes.
him
I
without
believe
that.
you will.
All right, for the Recreation Committee, we have two candidates. We have one position for the term ending June 30th, 2017. First candidate is Walter Crotty. Walter?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to, be considered for this position. I'd like to think I have a lot of relevant background and perspective that would be valuable, and I'll share this with you briefly. I've played just about every sport from the time I was 7 years old up to and through, and in some cases past college. That would include football, cross-country, basketball, hockey, soccer, and I got to play baseball and soccer at the collegiate level and baseball beyond that. So I think I've got the feeling for what it takes to play in these particular sports. My first coaching experience came when I was playing for Falmouth in the Cape Cod League, and so I was still in college. And then I coached teams as my own children, a boy and a girl, grew up. So I've had a lot of coaching experience. I've also coached at the high school and the middle school level for both boys and girls. That would be soccer, basketball, baseball, and softball. I've been an athletic director for 14 years, so I think I understand the administrative aspect of putting programs together. And I am currently a sports official. So I guess if I combine all that, the contribution I think I can make is I really realize the true value of what a good recreation program, which in most cases is sports-oriented, can do in character development for the children of the town. The ability to be able to contribute to that on the committee is something I would like to think I could do a good job of, and I would really look forward to doing. I've already been invited to one of their meetings. Mr. Jones was there, and I think we had a pretty good rapport. I already knew some of the people on the committee, and I talked to Helen Kennedy and told her what my background was, and that seemed to go pretty positive. So, again, I'd like to serve the town in that way, and I'd like to think with the background I have, I could do a really good job.
I think it might be useful just to clarify, because we had interviewed you a few months ago, just so the other selectmen, I know the situation about the finance committee, but maybe just to clarify what's happened with that.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I was going to do that, and I said, well, maybe that's something they don't need to hear. I had the privilege of being put on the finance committee, and somebody, it might have been you, Susan, asked me a relevant question, which I gave a truthful answer to, is, we have a lot of meetings that are critical between now and March. You have the time to do it. And sadly, my only response, my answer was yes, because the only job I had since I retired as the athletic director was I was the official scorer for Cape Cod Academy. And that was like 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. I'm thinking, surely that can't interfere with it. And when I went to the first finance committee and I got on my committee assignment, I found out that everything conflicted with that. And one of my personal values, right or wrong, is I had already committed to them. I had gone through an interview. You have to be a certified official to do it. I didn't feel right letting them hold the bag and saying, sorry, I'm going to resign this. So I felt obligated to live up to that commitment. And then when I looked at the committee assignments, I said, well, I won't be doing justice to the job, being new to it, if I'm missing all of these things. So sadly, in hindsight, it turned out to be a conflict which I never thought would occur. I can safely say there's no conflict here. I know when the meetings are, the basketball season's over, and I do have officiating duties I do for baseball and softball, but I can work around that. So again, I appreciate the committee's support on the finance thing. I feel badly that I couldn't do it, that it did prove out to be a conflict, and I apologize for any inconvenience that might have caused.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was wondering the same thing since I'm
Well,
the liaison to the finance
I was
committee.
thinking about addressing that, and I was saying, well, you know, maybe they already know. I did send an email to the people on the committee and to Diane. I said, geez, I really feel bad about this, but I never would have thought that was going to be a conflict, and it turned out it was. And, you know, I had to make the decision in favor of what I had already committed to. I couldn't leave them, you know, in the lurch on that one. So hopefully everybody understands that. You know, maybe in the future, I'd still like to consider the finance opportunity, but I know I can do this one because I talked to Helen about, you know, the meetings and things like that. And, you know, actually my background is probably as relevant, if not even more relevant to that, since it's been so sports-oriented as well as business-oriented, so.
If we could add one sport or activity to what the Recreation Committee does, the Recreation Department does, what would you suggest?
Well, I guess that I would have to tell you, I haven't got into the ones that they do offer. I'm a firm believer that any sports activity that either boys or girls can participate in, if they're done the right way, can lead to a lot of very valuable character development things as it goes along. So to answer your question, honestly, I'd have to look at what they were offering. I didn't get a chance to get into that at the meeting, and that would be one of the first things I would certainly want to know is what are you offering and what are the potential. And of course, as you know, one of the biggest issues which was raised at the meeting is field space. You know, you have to have fields to be able to do these things. So I know it's a combination between what the town can afford and what they can offer and what programs would best suit the youth of the community.
All right, then I'll change the question a little bit, just so I'm cast on what you do know about what we do. And is there an off-the-wall activity you could say, hey, I don't know if you're doing it or not, but you ever thought about doing this?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll share with you one of the experiences I had at the school I was the athletic director at. You know, as you can tell, I'm a firm believer of what being involved in an activity can do for young children. And, you know, some children are better skilled at eye-hand coordination and things than others. And we put a cross-country program in at the middle school, which got a lot of kids out there and got, you know, everybody can run. So I think sometimes you have to say, I don't know if they have any kind of a running program there or not, but if they don't, I would say that's an easy one. It's relatively inexpensive. You can usually find space to run in. You don't have to have a whole field to do it. So I guess if I got a chance to look at that and they didn't have some kind of running program, that's a great program for kids who maybe are not as skilled or as confident in some of the other sports.
Good. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Our next candidate is Ginger Kroon.
Hi, thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Ginger Kroon. I've been a resident of Falmouth for 7 years. I have 2 children in the public school system here, and my entire family is involved in the current recreation department program, so I'm very familiar with the offerings. From my 6-year-old through my husband, who I'll admit for him, he plays over 40 basketball. We are very involved with the programs that the recreation department offers now, and I'd like to help be on the committee to help expand those offerings and continue what is done for my family as an example, but other families within the town.
Do you have an off-the-wall activity you think, I bet you
Sure,
guys don't
and
do
I'm
this?
sorry because I got to cheat because I got to listen to him, but my off-the-wall activity would be paddleboarding because obviously we have a lot of ocean and open water, and there are some neighboring towns that actually offer it in their program now for a summer program. But a more reasonable offering would probably just be, in addition to the day camp that the recreation department runs now, would be just to add some other hourly programs for the summer, so kids that don't necessarily need a full day but have a couple of other diverse offerings for the summertime, since obviously the camp fills up every summer.
Questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much, Ginger. Prepared to vote tonight?
Yes.
All right. Sue, I'm going to start with you.
Mr. Crotty?
Sam?
Ginger Kroon.
Ms. Flynn? Walter Crotty. Thank you very much, Ginger, for putting your name forward, and congratulations, Mr. Crotty. We look forward to your experience adding to the recognition. Again, These terms do come up at the end of June. It's only 3 months away, so please put your name forward again, and I'm sure we'll be happy to consider you at that point. Thank you. The next position is for the Veterans Council Committee. We have one at-large position appointed by the Selectmen for an unexpired term until June 30th, 2015. Kevin Lynch.
Well, let me tell you a little story about me in the military. I was drafted in 1966. I did pretty well. I was able to go to officer candidate school, became a lieutenant, went to Vietnam, and flew a helicopter for 1,000 hours of combat time. Did 3 distinguished flying crosses, 23 air medals, shot down twice, and I was lucky enough to come home. And I continued with the military, and down at Fort Rucker, and then came into the Army National Guard. And during that time, it was General Staff Officer, Company Commander, was an infantry officer. I was also a transportation officer, and finally an aviation officer. So I have a lot of experience with soldiers. One of the other things I've done recently is for Tabor Academy, I hold a seminar talking about the history of the Vietnam War. And I'm very proud of that, so we can tell the story of what went on then. And also, to come on this council, I've been on a few committees in town. The Bikeways Committee, I was the actually initial member of the committee that wrote the master plan back in the early 90s. Also, let's see, I was going to say. Well, anyway, I have a lot of experience on the committees, and so I think I can help. What I also have been a member of I'm a life member of the VFW. I'm a life member of the Disabled American Veterans, and for 5 years I was the quartermaster, which is the finance officer for the Bourne post of the VFW, and currently I'm the quartermaster of the Falmouth VFW. And I'm very happy to tell you that over the last 3 or 4 months, we've been able to provide about $1,200 worth of gift cards to disabled or veterans that need it. And I want to continue to that, and that's the VFW Falmouth is looking forward to doing that with the funds that they have. We do have a lot of funds based on the selling of the VFW hall. Can't remember, was that 10 years ago? It's quite a while back. So I think I can be assistance on that committee.
Questions?
I'm just going to say I'm liaison to the Veterans Council, and I often see Mr. Lynch there, along with Mr. Dufresne and others. Just that the groups work very well together and really do a lot of great networking for veterans in need. And so I think this would be another step toward that.
You've stolen one of my questions, which is whether he'd been to a Veterans Council meeting. But the Veterans Council currently does quite a few things for the town. Is there something out there that you think we should be pushing forward to do more?
I think we should do as much as we can for the veterans. We have a lot of veterans that are coming back with PTSD, having problems with that. I know our veterans agent is great with that, when it brings them in, and some of these veterans don't know about it. In fact, I found out something I didn't know about myself, that my wife is supposed to be on my record as my spouse, and I didn't know that till last week.
Are there ways that you think we could, I think veterans are often reluctant to come get help or don't know there's help available. What things do you think we can do to do with either one of those two issues, is to make it more known and get them in?
I'm sure there are some ways. I haven't got any right off the top of my mind.
Okay.
But we do help. We do reach out to them through the veterans agent here.
Sure.
And I think what we do is help to form, the activities that the veterans agents will do.
Okay.
Kevin, I know you're active as a volunteer with Falmouth Community TV. Have you ever done any programs relative to veteran services in that capacity?
We have run some programs there. I haven't done them specifically, other than the fact that every gadget in general, except for one, since the 19 1992 or so, when I started this, I've had every adjutant general come and talk about what they do out at Otis. And we've done that recently also, and we continue to do that. And I usually produce most of those presentations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next candidate is Robert Foos. Hi.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Board, for giving me this opportunity to put in for the vacancy on the Veterans Council Committee. I would obviously represent a bit of a different tack. I am a recent Coast Guard veteran. I graduated from the Coast Guard Academy in 2007, served 7 years active duty, and separated last June as a lieutenant. During my time in the service, I served aboard 2 Coast Guard ships. I had command of the last vessel I served aboard. I then was transferred to Miami and spent my last 3 years in the Coast Guard in Miami. For the first year, I was the Coast Guard's representative to 3 fishery management councils, the South Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean. I then served as an admiral's aide for my last year, and then as an assistant to the director for Coast Guard Auxiliary, which is the all-volunteer service arm of the Coast Guard in South Florida. During this time, I had the opportunity to learn quite a bit about what it takes to organize large events. As an admiral's aide, I've coordinated the participation of the highest levels of the organization, from the Commandant and the Command Master Chief of the Coast Guard all the way down to the very lowest, to recognize and ensure the best possible events that could take place for changes in commands, retirements, and other promotions and recognition events. I think really what I would be able to provide is a unique bridge to those that are currently serving. I still remember very well what it's like to be in what is the largest active duty component in the area, and that I could be a very good liaison to those units, and to ensure that those that separate or retire from the service in this community understand what is available to them. I will also admit I only recently started looking into this opportunity to join the Veterans Council Committee, and in the last two weeks, I looked last week and submitted my application very, very quickly, because I didn't realize that these interviews were coming up. So I have not had the opportunity yet to attend a Veterans Council Committee.
How did you hear about the committee itself, or even about veteran services? If we're talking about how can we let veterans know about it, how did you find out?
I wanted to get more involved in the community, so I started off on the Town of Falmouth webpage, and then realized there was a Veterans Council Committee. And so in clicking through and trying to learn more, I realized that there really isn't a whole lot of information very readily available without having to take some kind of affirmative action, whether it's call or walk into an office. And so that'd be something that I think that could be improved.
So you took the step forward. Do you have any suggestions as to what step we can take towards the veterans?
Well, I think in particular, looking at those that are serving in this area, when I separated from Miami, I really had no opportunity to meet anybody that was in the area that had recently separated, or could walk me through that process, besides the trainings that are available or that everybody is required to go through as they separate from the service. And I think that there's an opportunity here for Falmouth to insert themselves into that process for those veterans that are separating from the service, especially doing so from an area that is so highly desired to be a highly desirable area to be stationed in, which is Cape Cod.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We ready to vote on this one?
Yes.
Sam?
Kevin Lynch.
Sue?
I'm going to say Mr. Foos.
And as Mr. Foos did point out, we really have 2 candidates who are offering very, very different things. And I do think having someone who's current is very useful. I do appreciate Kevin putting his name forward, but I'm going to say Robert Foos also.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And I imagine you will still be at the meetings and still be helpful. Last board appointment is for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have 2 voting member positions, one an expired term ending June 30th, 2015, and one a term ending June 30th, 2017. We have one applicant, Edward Van Kuren. Mr. Van Kuren?
I bought a house here in 1988, and I retired the third time about 4 years ago. Now, I finally have some time. I think I can devote some time to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and my background was back to 40-plus years of development design and site selection and construction, mostly communication, radar facilities, pretty much around the United States and Germany and Puerto Rico. So I've been familiar with board activities and things like that over the last 40-something years, and actually 50. And I think now that I have some time, I can devote the time to the town, and I like this place. First time I came here was I was in the Air Force. Otis in 1956. I was jumping signal. I just think this is a great place, and I think I could contribute. So I thought I'd put my effort into it, and let's do it.
Questions?
Yes. I know with this Rother system, you must have been putting that into areas, and certainly the Zoning Board of Appeals has to worry about abutter concerns. Have you dealt with anything like that in your professional capacity and installing systems like that? And
We had-
people raising concerns about maybe the effects of cancer caused by radar radiation and that sort of
I was
thing?
involved, I was project manager. We built the paid pause over here at Otis, and that was a long, painful process dealing with it was mainly an education of the process of what was going on.
Mhm.
And we ran into it in Virginia, we ran into it in Puerto Rico, we ran into it in California, Hawaii, you name it. But I think I have the technical background and the expertise that I could contribute to not only to the zoning board, but I think to the town. And I participated in about 5 zoning board meetings as an observer in the last over a year. And I think the town could use some technical help in this area. And I don't want to work for a living, I just want to contribute. I've already retired 3 times, and that's it.
Thank you.
Is there a question?
No.
Would you say you're more a letter of the law person or the intent of the law person?
Oh, the intent. I've been involved in some places where it was very sensitive. You had to deal with the people. But I think you got to listen and you got to pay attention and make a safe technical decision. Sometimes it's not easy, but sometimes you have to do it.
Ready to have a motion?
I move that we appoint Edward Van Kuren to the position of Zoning Board of Appeals.
Which term? The one expiring June 3rd, 2015 or 2017?
The permanent position, excuse me.
So the term ending June 3rd, 2017. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Karen.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
You too, thank you.
Our next item is to discuss and vote the request for a special event fee exemption for the Falmouth Art Market to be held at the Gus Canty Recreation Center.
Hi, good evening.
If you introduce yourself, please.
Joyce Lorman for the Art Market, one of the co-chairs. My other 2 co-chairs, Diane Regis and Jean Russo, I could not talk to come back from Florida as of yet, so they are still there.
No surprise.
I'm pulling teeth right now. So we are requesting a waiver for the fees due to the relocation of the market. We did hold one last year, so there was no fees generated, no funds generated. In addition, we are going to incur some pretty significant expenses for increased signage and increased marketing to let people know about the new location and the new date. We're trying to work closely with the farmers market to coordinate as much joint efforts on marketing as we possibly can. And in addition, we are charging vendors, because it's a new location and because we only have about 50% of the slots that we used to have available here, we're charging them a nominal fee. And this is an unproven concept as of yet for the vendors. So there's a little leeriness on vendors' part as well. There's significantly decreased foot traffic in the new location, so we're going to have to really do a lot of creative work to get people to come by and see us. So in addition to that, those are the practical reasons. In addition to that, we also donate all of our proceeds to the
Just hold on a
Falmouth.
second.
Yeah, excuse us.
In the hall, please, if you could move the
they moved?
conversation out.
Did they leave? Looks like they got
Sorry, thank
That's
you.
okay. In addition, we donate all of our proceeds to the Falmouth Cultural Council, so that benefits the town, in that it is, in the past, from a letter that they were very supportive of us in the enterprise, been a significant amount of their budget that goes to artists for grants to continue to develop their art forms. So we really feel like that is a benefit to the town, which was one of the criterias in the process.
Discussion?
I'm just needing some instruction about what our options are.
I'm happy to provide some guidance. There's a fee policy that's established by the selectmen that allows certain fees to be waived by the policy by the town manager. Other fees, any exemptions need to be waived by the selectmen. Your policy does say that you would waive administrative fees, but you cannot waive any inspectional service fees. This is simply an administrative fee related to their use of that particular facility, and you have the discretion to waive it.
And what is the amount again?
Right.
I don't know.
$100 per week.
Yeah, $100
Oh, per week. Okay, that's what I was, thank you.
We are starting the art market on January 25th because the July 4th weekend is that very next, sort of starts that next Thursday. And we just wanted sort of a run-through to be the week before so that we would have time to get everyone in their places. There's permanent locations for everyone. That was an adjustment that we had made to the original permit.
Did I hear January 25th
No, I'm
or
sorry.
June 25th?
June 25th. Sorry about that.
So that's in addition to what our permit says right here.
Yeah. I had made that adjustment.
So does that make it's going to be 10 Thursdays? Because the June 25th...
10 or 11. It's also that first Thursday of September was what we added on there.
All right, so there are 11 Thursdays now, so
Because Labor Day is also early this year.
so the fee right now, if we do not waive it, is $1,100 plus the filing fee of $10 and plus the deposit of $300.
Right, which we just do not feel that we can, with half the slots and an unproven new location and the amount of marketing and signage and other things that we're going to have to incur, are really going to be able to afford that to get the market back up and running because we didn't have a market last year.
If I remember correctly, with the farmer's market, we can't waive the filing fee, and I thought there was some policy that we had to have at least $100. Wasn't there some stipulation that we can't actually waive the entire thing?
I think we required the bond, the $300 bond.
Right.
So
But
we hang on
I'll
to
even
that.
for the
That's returned.
With farmer's market, there was also,
Yeah, I think I was going to suggest we do the same thing, and it was $110.
one weekly fee.
1 week and the $10 fee was what we,
Correct.
and I think that we should stick to that pattern, if you will. So I'm prepared to make that motion.
okay?
So I move that we charge our art market $110 for administrative fees, and we understanding they'll have to pick up any other fees that might be associated with inspections.
And it's limited to this year.
And it's just this year, yes.
And are you requiring the deposit?
And still
As
requiring
per
the
standard
deposit.
procedure?
Yeah.
Very good.
Second.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. We want to see it succeed.
Thank you. Hope you'll stop by.
Our next item on our agenda are some seasonal license renewals, and because I'm going to have to recuse myself on the licenses for the Landfall Restaurant, since my son is going to be employed there, and we only have 2 selectmen able to vote on that, we're going to have to postpone that one until the March 30th, but we will proceed with the other ones. We have an all-alcohol restaurant for Shuckers, 91 Water Street, Woods Hole. And I know there are also people here who want to discuss Silver Shore Shanty, so I'm going to list all the other ones not including that, and we may be able to do that in one motion. You don't mind if I read them through?
Oh,
So
Sure.
Sure.
all alcohol restaurant, Shuckers, 91 Water Street in Woods Hole. An all alcohol club, Falmouth Yacht Club, 290 Clinton Avenue. Common victual license, Falmouth Yacht Club. And Shuckers, 91 Water Street, Woods Hole. Entertainment license, Falmouth Yacht Club and Shuckers. And Sunday entertainment, Falmouth Yacht Club and Shuckers, 91 Water Street.
I move approval of those particular restaurant, vendors and for those particular licenses.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed, unanimous. So the next has to do with the alcohol restaurant for Silver Shores Shanty. I believe the only question we have out there from people is dealing with the entertainment license. So I'd entertain a motion for both the all alcohol restaurant and the common victual license for Silver Shore Shanty.
So moved.
Second.
Is there anyone in the public who wants to discuss either of those two licenses for the alcohol or the victual license for this place? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, the next has to do with the entertainment license and the Sunday entertainment license for Silver Shore Shanty, 465 Grand Avenue. We have heard quite a number of emails about this, and I just want to clarify what the license is applying for. It is for entertainment from 4 to 7, from Monday through Saturday, and then the other license is a separate license for Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. They're requesting live music with one musician and an amplification system. Do we have anyone who would like to speak on that, or do you have any questions first? Do we have an applicant here who would like to speak on their behalf first? Yep. Mr. Murphy?
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Robert Flynn. I am the owner, manager, and operator of the Silver Shore Shanty. It has come to my attention that there's been some opposition to our entertainment license. The current license is from 4 to 7 p.m., so we're looking to renew that license. Just to give you a little insight on the restaurant, this would be our third season. The very first season we were open, we were voted best family restaurant on Cape Cod by Cape Cod A-List. My employees, 80% are probably between the ages of 16 and 22. So they're all Falmouth high school and college kids. A portion of our entertainment, we have established we're establishing, money hasn't been dispersed yet, 2 scholarships at the high school. One for culinary students and one for arts, entertainment, musicians, or the regular arts. The entertainment is a big portion of our revenue in that area. We are the only ones in the last bunch of years that have made a go in that area. They've all been one-year wonders. We're going on our third season. We want to stay there for a long time. And we've also done many benefits. The 300 Committee, for one, has had a fundraiser, an awareness type of a meeting there. They've recruited new members. They all had entertainment during these fundraisers and different events that we've had there. We do birthday parties. It's really a family restaurant. We're not looking to be a nightclub. I've been in the business for 40 years. I'm way over that. If I could have just approached the board, I have a couple of pictures that I wanted to disperse here if I could. This will give you an idea of who our clientele is.
Thank you.
Okay. And this is a copy of the award that we received the first year of doing business. We weren't able to win Best Family Restaurant in Cape Cod last season, but we came in third place. So I'm real happy with the work that the youngsters have done for us. A lot of our entertainments are youngsters. Everybody that works there is a Falmouth resident, and I'm very proud that we've been able to put that together. So I'm just asking for your consideration to renew what we have. We're not looking to go late night. We're done at 7 o'clock. It's after beach type of music. It's the Beatles. It's the Beach Boys and that type of thing. It's one person. So I'm asking for your consideration to continue what we're doing, so that we can continue to help the community.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? All right. Sue?
Okay, why do you only allow one musician?
Because of the noise factor. It's outside on a patio. We're not looking to disturb the neighborhood, and that's why we keep it no later than 7 o'clock. I don't want a band. It's just something for people to enjoy after the beach on their way home. We get a lot of people coming down from the Island Queen after they get off the boat, or from over at the harbor and after the beach. And as I say, we're not looking for a nightclub. We're looking for people to sit outside, enjoy some good food and ice cream with their kids. It's very family oriented, and that's all we're looking to do.
And you made the point well, I thought, that it's your view that the music is integral to the success of the business.
Yes.
And you have also mentioned that your staff includes a lot of young people from Falmouth.
Yes.
Are the musicians local as well?
Yes, and there's a few of them that are high school age. Last year, we gave a high school student his first opportunity to play in front of a live audience, and it was a huge success, and he's gone on to play in other clubs and stuff like that. It gave him some exposure, and we're happy that happened for him.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Tim?
I wonder if you have a sense of what the source of all the complaints are, because we've received quite a few, not from just one or two irritated neighbors, but for quite a large number. And, it seems to be something to do with amplification.
Well, I think there was a misconception that we were looking to extend it later hours also, which is not the case. If it is an amplification, and we have to tone it down a little bit, we're not opposed to that. We're trying to be good neighbors, as well as have a successful restaurant in the area, and it's just an important part of it. Without that creates a lot more revenue for us. And without that, I don't want to be another one of these restaurants that's there for 2 years and have to, pack up and leave because we can't make it because of rents and that type of thing.
Sure.
Sorry. What is your process for handling complaints?
Well, I don't believe we've had any formal complaints. And so a month ago or so, when I was starting to be made aware of these, I was a little surprised. One of the complainants, I believe, lives right across the street. Last year, we were bringing in a new partner who did want to extend the entertainment to later hours. He and I had a discussion on that, and so we weren't able to work out the partnership, so he's no longer with us. I rescinded the request, and I think maybe that they thought that we were going to continue to ask for a later license, if you will.
Any other questions for the applicant? Do we have anyone in the audience who'd like to speak? Okay.
Let me just ask one more question.
Sure.
How much do you think it would, how much of a problem would it create if we disallowed the amplification system, including your keyboard, which obviously has amplification as part of its, electronics and what have you, but because I could tell you, I live across a pond from a restaurant, and every once in a while, somebody abuses that audio system, and it becomes pretty irritating on a Sunday evening when you want your windows open to hear, loud, disturbing music. Somebody referred to it as acoustic trespassing.
Right.
How much of a problem would it be if we excluded the amplification?
It's hard for me to say because we haven't not had the amplification. what I would request is that you would allow us to continue it, turn it down a bit if we have to do that, and if there's a problem next year, then do away with it. Not do away with the entertainment, but do away with the amplification. I'm afraid if we agree to it now and it doesn't work, then it may be a problem business-wise.
Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak in behalf of this application? Okay. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application for the same hours?
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Smith. I live in Falmouth Heights, and I'm the treasurer of the Falmouth Heights Maravista Improvement Association. Our president is unavailable tonight, so I am representing the association board of directors, which has discussed this entertainment license at some length. After reading this prepared statement, I will also be speaking personally for myself and my family. First of all, I'd like to just pass out this map.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
The association appreciates the opportunity to speak publicly and on the record about the Silver Shore Shanty's request for a license to provide amplified outdoor entertainment at their location on Grand Ave. The property on which the shanty is located is zoned B3. If the area was undeveloped and this property was to be zoned anew today, we think it would be more appropriately zoned residential. But as we know, it's business zoned and grandfathered in. The structure itself is pre-existing, non-conforming. It would not come close to meeting current day building codes. According to the building inspector, the property has never had the required amount of parking spaces to meet current zoning bylaws. The property abuts a public park. There are about 15 residents within 150 feet of the property, and there are 36 residents within 300 feet of the property. The building in which the Silver Shore Shanty operates has had many incarnations over the years. It was a place to get an ice cream for 8 to 10 weeks of the summer, and there have been numerous common victualers. Pizza, burgers, and fried seafood were added. Then an even wider menu was offered. A beer and wine license was added, followed by all alcoholic beverages. It is now open to the public for 28 or more weeks of the year. With each addition to the food and drink menu, with each addition to the weeks of operation, the original neighborhood summer ice cream shop has had an increased impact on the nearby residents and has adversely affected their peaceful enjoyment of the neighborhood. To their credit, the current owners of the business have improved the property, expanded the menu, attracted a lot of people, sometimes more people than the available parking can accommodate. They operate a successful business from the location. It is fair to say that some of that success has been at the expense of their neighbors. The current owners have also had a history of exceeding the limits of their existing permits. They have provided recorded music while holding a permit for live entertainment only. In 2014, they provided music on Sundays while not holding the required Sunday license. They have often provided music past 7 while holding a permit for music until 7 only. Since the days of the ice cream shop and throughout all of the additions and expansions over the years of whatever the business has been at this location, it is accurate to state that the neighborhood has been mostly supportive or mostly tolerant. The proposed outdoor amplified music is most definitely a tipping point. Based upon the impact of the current operation of their neighbors, the density of the neighborhood, the complaints that we've received, and the numerous past permit abuses, we strongly suggest that this spot-zoned, grandfathered location is absolutely inappropriate as a venue for outdoor entertainment of any kind, amplified, recorded, and or live. We request, as the licensing authority of the town of Falmouth, you, the Board of Selectmen, deny the request for outdoor entertainment at this location. Thank you. Any questions for me?
Well, you said you were going to speak.
Yes, I'm going to speak for myself too. Again, to the Board of Selectmen, my name is Kevin Smith, and now I'm speaking as the property owner of number 5 and number 7 Wachusett Ave, Falmouth Heights. When I first learned that an entertainment license was granted to the Silver Shore Shanty, I was extremely concerned. And when the entertainment began, my worst fears were realized. This entertainment was not only outside, but amplified, clearly heard at my house over 300 feet away. This noise blasted throughout the area has had a negative impact on our quality of life and cheapens our neighborhood. When the liquor license was first granted, no entertainment was written on the license. It was one of the conditions. I asked for a return to this original condition to give us relief from this ongoing disturbance and allow us to peacefully enjoy our homes again. Please, no entertainment. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question. Were these complaints that you have ever registered to the police department or to the town in any way?
No, well, the problem with that is the license was granted for entertainment without any, we didn't know that it was going to happen. It was, no one was notified, none of the abutters. So the people, so the restaurant had the permit, so you couldn't complain because they were given a permit.
Well, you said there were violations of the permit.
Well, there were violations of
Were those
going over the time, and yes, for the recorded music, rather. Not that I know of, no. No, people aren't out to drive anybody out of business or to make things difficult. So it's just last year when it was applied for 7 days from noon until 10 at night, that's when people got really upset. And then we, got organized, and that's why, one of the reasons I believe it was withdrawn. But it doesn't sound like, from what I heard, that this is the place to have benefit concerts, and it's not a concert venue. It's a very small area, so why amplification at all is needed, I don't understand. It's a very small area. Why anything outside? All I hear in the past about restaurants is they're told to contain all noise inside. They have to soundproof doors, windows. It's not supposed to be heard outside the building. And this not only is heard outside the building, it takes place outside the building.
Our hands may be a little bit tied if they're in violation of their permit, but there are no complaints about that. We can't enforce the permit. For a renewal of a permit as opposed to a new permit, we're in a little bit different position if we have no complaints about it.
Well, you have complaints now.
But nothing that the restaurant owner had a valid permit and was never given the opportunity to, if there were concerns, to respond to the concerns, because the concerns were not addressed to him or to the police department.
Right, but our concerns now are that there shouldn't be any outdoor entertainment at all. That's what our...
Right. Let's hear from other people. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll speak a little bit too.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Paula Lichter. I live on Deacons Avenue. I manage Harbor Watch, and I'm the vice president of the Falmouth Heights Mara Vista Improvement Association. I'm not speaking for either of those groups tonight, only for myself. I'm going to read what I wrote, and then I want to speak to a couple of Mr. Flynn's comments and to your question. I did not attend the original hearing in 2013 because I was out of town and hadn't heard about it. Neighbors, abutters are not notified of new entertainment applications. So although I live directly across the street, I was not informed of the meeting or that outdoor entertainment, which I would have opposed, was being considered. It didn't say on the agenda that it was outdoor. So even had I seen entertainment, I wouldn't have known it was outdoor. When I was informed, I watched the Selectmen's meeting on FCTV. At no time was there any mention of amplified music at that meeting. Anyone attending the meeting or watching it on FCTV would never have known that amplified music was being proposed. A few months later, it was a huge surprise to me and to my neighbors to hear amplified music coming from the shanty. I have 3 areas of concern about the current application for outdoor amplified 7-day-a-week entertainment. I'd like to make a comment here. I think that this is not a renewal application. I'm not sure when to say this. Let me go on, I'll say it later. Okay. The peaceful enjoyment of my property, license compliance issues, and the impact on the neighborhood. First, peaceful enjoyment of my property. I live in a 4-unit condo building across the street from the shanty. On the Grand Ave side, we're about 70 feet away from the guitarist. On the Deacons Avenue side, our deck is about 100 feet away. The shanty's amplified music travels through and around our building in such a way that it can be heard even on Deacons Park, 200 feet away. The shanty's amplified music is often louder than my own TV or stereo. In 2014, music was performed from 4 to 7 on Saturdays and Sundays. But now Mr. Flynn is proposing to have amplified music 7 days a week, which is really my reason why I think this is not a renewal application, but a new application, because he's adding piano and adding 7 days a week rather than just the 2 days a week. At this time of day, 4 to 7, I enjoy reading quietly or entertaining on my deck, and I find that the music is exceedingly intrusive. Sometimes I ignore it, sometimes I wear earplugs or close my windows, sometimes I leave my home and return after 7 p.m. Second, license compliance issues. I did actually make a complaint in 2013 when one of the musicians played until 8 o'clock. I complained to the Board of Selectmen. I did not call the police because I wanted to see just how long it was going to be allowed for the guitarist to play. And at 8 o'clock, that was it. In the file, there is my complaint, and the complaint was passed on to the rest of the Board of Selectmen. Now, that didn't happen again. But I would say too, it's a minor of importance, but still a violation that musicians are still allowed to play after 7 p.m. It may have been only for 10 or 15 minutes, but it does show that the licensee has violated the terms of the license on numerous occasions. Now, in August 2014, I was at the takeout window when the guitarist took a break. Extremely loud music with multiple instruments and whistling blared out of his speaker. I was so astounded I took a short video, if you'd like to hear it. And actually, I would like you to hear it, given the comments. Okay, are they licensed for music? This is not live music, it is out of There's no one sitting in the chair. Speaker. No live
Thank you.
music. I was going to play that only if you asked, but given the situation, I wanted to play it. So months later, I did not make a complaint on that day. Because it was only months later when I went to the Board of Selectmen's office and I reviewed all of the paperwork, including the entertainment application, I saw that they asked for live music, not recorded. And that was the first time in December of 14 when I realized that that was not a licensed use of the music. Therefore, this loud recorded music was in violation of their license, and I imagine that this was not the first nor the last time that recorded music was playing during breaks. Third, impact on the neighborhood. May I approach?
Thank you. Thank you.
Pedestrian safety. According to the building department, this pre-existing non-conforming property has never had enough parking. To his credit, Mr. Flynn has said he asks his patrons not to park illegally, but they do anyway. The photo, taken on a Saturday evening during entertainment hours, shows 2 people returning to their car from the shanty. 2 cars are parked between the white line in my yard, right in front of a no parking anytime sign. The white line delineates the sidewalk from the road, so in effect, the cars are parked on the sidewalk, on a popular, officially designated scenic way, impeding foot traffic for people walking to and from the Island Queen, St. Thomas's Chapel, to the beach, or simply out for an afternoon stroll. Property values and the ability to sell. I'm not a broker, so I don't have a professional opinion, but I do know of one broker who stopped showing a listing whenever the music was playing because some prospective buyers who heard the music walked away without even entering the home for sale. Change of environment. Also at the 2013 hearing, Mr. Flynn's representative, Robert Mills, said that Mr. Flynn wanted to continue in the same vein as prior establishments, small ice cream facility, fried clam type restaurant. Adding entertainment has changed that equation, straying far from Mr. Mills's representation. Mr. Flynn then stated very clearly his request for entertainment on Saturdays and Sundays only. Subsequently, during the 2013 and 14 seasons, music was provided only on weekends. Now that the new entertainment application form has added days of operation, although Mr. Flynn is not asking for extended hours, he is requesting entertainment for all 7 days of the week. This is an extensive alteration from his initial request. If granted outdoor entertainment for 7 days a week, the shanty would significantly alter the complexion of the neighborhood. Any request for outdoor entertainment, whether for 2 days or 7, is worrisome, especially when combined with the shanty's 2014 Facebook page advertising a summer jam session where all ages are welcome to enjoy our concerts. The terms jam session and concerts imply a musical experience quite different from what was licensed, and again, differs markedly from Mr. Mills's assurance that Mr. Flynn intended to continue in the same vein as prior establishments, none of which ever had entertainment. I would like to return the residential nature of the neighborhood. I would like to return to the residential neighborhood. I'm sorry. I would like to return to the residential nature of our neighborhood and do not approve of any outdoor entertainment. You've already mentioned that you've received a number of letters to that effect from people who could not be here tonight. This location has always supported a friendly neighborhood restaurant without altering the character of the community. So in conclusion, I question what precedent is being set if you allow the shanty to continue outdoor entertainment in a residential neighborhood. Even if the Flynn Group were to alter their application to weekends only, I implore you to categorically deny any outdoor entertainment at this location. Please return our neighborhood to a peaceful environment. Now, I'd like to just say a couple of things regarding what Mr. Flynn said. I think that fundraisers are a great thing, and they can easily be handled with a one-day special event license, rather than giving a 7-day license to a restaurant in this neighborhood. Let's see. They're not looking to go to a late night nightclub. And what Mr. Flynn said is that, I'm the neighbor who he was referring to. In May of 2014, I saw on the agenda that they wanted to add a partner and extend the hours 12 to 10 p.m. This is not what our comments are about tonight. Our comments are about any outdoor amplified music 7 days a week. You heard it. This is what it sounds like. Any questions for me?
Anyone else like to speak? Mr. Dufresne?
Evening, Dufresne, and I'm speaking as a resident of Falmouth Heights and a precinct 2 representative. I've stood before this board several times in the last couple of years in the hopes of trying to protect Falmouth Heights as a residential neighborhood. We do have several alcohol licenses in Falmouth Heights under special permit. The reason the two previous speakers, and they did an excellent job in outlining what has happened from an establishment that started out as a great little family restaurant going back to the days when it was called Shrubs, and I went there with my 5 kids and enjoyed the hot dogs and hamburgers and ice cream and things that the place provided. When they issued the liquor license, I could understand, today we have a different society and maybe somebody likes to have a sandwich with a glass of beer. And last year, when I heard that the entertainment license was granted, I met with one of the previous speakers and said that ain't ever going to work. You have several residential neighborhoods. In fact, I think the lady that just spoke lives right across the street. Should we sacrifice the residents of Falmouth Heights in a residential neighborhood for the profits of the business. It was a successful little restaurant for probably 20, 25 years. And then all of a sudden, we're transforming it into a semi-outdoor nightclub, and they want 7-day entertainment. This is wrong. This is wrong for that particular location. And in every other liquor establishment, going back to my days sitting on the board, they'd had to contain the music in their quarters. I just don't think music should go on that location. Not 1 day a week, not 1 hour. It's a nice little restaurant. If they can't make money selling food, then maybe they should up the quality of what they're dispensing. But it is a residential neighborhood, and I think that there's just cause for the two previous speakers to stand before you and say, please deny the entertainment license indoor and amplification outdoor. It is wrong for that neighborhood.
Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Edith Mariano, and I own a condominium at 4 Deacons Avenue, which is located across the street from the Silver Shores Shanty. My husband and I have been there for 10 years and have enjoyed the environment of a residential neighborhood, although I understand it has not been zoned. It's not officially zoned as a residential neighborhood. And I do want to say good evening to Mr. Flynn. And I also want him to know that he is a great neighbor, he's a good neighbor, and I'm not here to speak because he's not a good neighbor. He's doing a wonderful job in the community, and we certainly appreciate what he's doing in the community. However, both my husband and I are adamantly opposed to any expansion in the Shanty's music schedule, and equally opposed to their use of amplified or non-live music. Any music at all threatens our quality of life and the value of our property. Expanding on the current 6 hours per week intensifies those threats. We truly trust and expect that you will deny any such expansion to the hours of entertainment that Mr. Flynn has requested. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Paula?
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. I wanted to mention that the May extension was withdrawn, and so any letters that were sent at that time did not make it into the file. I know that there were at least a half a dozen letters. This happened between Friday night and Sunday morning. So it wasn't just one person who was opposed to that expansion, but there were other people involved. The entire Deacons Avenue community and some of the side streets were involved, and that's actually why Mr. Flynn withdrew his application. But I just wanted to make that point, that those letters did not make it into the file. And that's why it looks like there wasn't anything other than, maybe one person. But it was a lot. Thank you.
Mr. Flynn, would you like another opportunity? The board has received emails about equal on both sides of this issue, so it is not for the audience hearing out that we're only hearing one side and why are we still listening to it. We've heard a lot of support also for that.
Lots of fans.
Good evening again. I'm not sure where to start or what to say. As I said earlier, to my knowledge, there were no complaints. I think that for them to come up and lodge complaints now, 6 months later, isn't really fair to me or give you a foundation to make a decision. When we first
Would you agree that there were times that you were using recorded music instead of live music?
that was a radio inside the building. So, I mean, if she was standing at the ice cream window, the music's in the kitchen, so I can imagine that, you know, if she holds her phone up, she's going to get a recording of it.
But there was no time that you felt any of your players switched it on to one of their recordings instead? You're comfortable that that did not happen?
No. They play, they may take a break, you know, and, you know, it's only a 3-hour gig, if you will. So
But it's
they're
very
not taking-
typical when a band takes a break,
They're
that
not
they
taking-
they put music on instead, and
Yeah.
you're saying that's not happening?
Well, we have music inside that's, you know, goes over a loudspeaker in the dining room or whatever, if you will. It's just a radio. So,
Okay.
you know, if you're standing at the ice cream window, I'm sure you can hear it. So if you hold up a recording device to that, you're going to be able to record it. As I say, we're willing to work with the neighbors. I'm not looking to be a bad guy, but entertainment is a vital part of that business. I'm not sure we can survive without it, to be honest with you. And our food is terrific, by the way.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you look at any of the online restaurant guides, we have 4.5 stars as far as our food goes. So we're doing a pretty good job in 2 years.
Congrats.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Discuss, or
Can I ask
I-
a question? It was
you have
just
to come to
mentioned
the, you have to come to the microphone.
Kevin Smith, Wachusett Ave. You had mentioned that you've received a similar amount of emails in favor. My question of that is, were those residents of Falmouth Heights abutters, people nearby, that were equally in favor?
There were some that were butters and some that were not.
Right, so it wasn't all people that were abutters that were in favor of it, that were neighbors, is my point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Look, go ahead.
I think the question of what we can deny needs to be resolved. And also what's changing with this application versus what existed in the past. So I'm in favor right now of kind of continuing this, taking this under advisement, and then coming back. That's personally where I am.
I am not in favor of a delay because people have to be booked, people have to make plans for their business. And I think Falmouth in general has to really be aware of how much we depend on the economy and our businesses. This is not a, this is not a big chain business that is moving in and disturbing neighbors. These are local folks employing local folks and really contributing to the economy. It seems to be generally within their existing license. And I say that with a lot of care because I happen to live across from Bourne Farm and spend every Saturday and Sunday during the nice weather with a pillow over my head because the wedding music is just blares. And I bought my house knowing that Bourne Farm was across the street and that one of the things they do is, they have weddings. If it got too loud, I would probably call the police. When there is zoning around a property that you reside in, you really have to be aware that, things could change within that zone. I also can see that the applicant, perhaps there was a complaint that doesn't sound like it was direct, but the complaint that was made may be conveyed indirectly for going beyond 7 o'clock. I think the applicant has to be, and I think today, can avoid being aware that the terms of the license have to be really strictly adhered to because there are a lot of eyes watching. And just to further the point that Doug made, there was a lot of really heartfelt emails on both sides, and since we've heard about all the complaints, there were a lot of local folks who really appreciated the opportunity for the food, the convenience of that, the idea of living in the vibrant part of Falmouth, and that's part of the the context of the neighborhood. So my feeling is to allow the application, with the commitment that I think I've heard by the applicant that, of course, the neighbors will be paid attention to. And then, if there is a nuisance complaint brought to the police, that they will, I'm sure, properly enforce that.
I'm leaning a little bit in between the two of you. I sort of feel that if this is an expansion of hours, and we've heard enough complaints from the residents, I'm not comfortable expanding the hours, whether it's later at night or more days. And I need to know, I don't know what the license was for last year. If the last year was just Saturday, Sunday, 4 to 7, for amplified music of one person playing, I'm comfortable having that be what's allowed and strictly enforced. And it is up to the property owner, the restaurateur, to make sure that they stick to 4 to 7, that it is amplified, loud music, not recorded music, never extend beyond that.
Could you not approach it while we're having a discussion?
I wanted to give you the
Please
license
don't.
for last year.
Thank you.
I would tend to agree with you, except there really have been no complaints at all. And I think that we have to be very, very careful about putting handcuffs on thriving businesses. I've gone by, there were Surrey bikes, I've gone by that particular place many times, and this is one bunch of business folks that it seems to have taken, and they seem to have the momentum to be able to survive there. And I just really think that we have to be careful about how much we impede business owners.
And I agree that if there have been no complaints, to cut back on what they were doing would be inappropriate. But I think that if they are expanding what they're doing, this is the only chance the community has to say, wait, please don't expand. They made it clear passively that they were okay with the old system because they didn't do anything. And so that's why I'm saying, the system's in place, they can complain about it, we can then do something about it, but without that information, we can't cut back. But we can respond to their complaints saying, don't go farther. And then put it on them and the owner to work out, here's the license, stick to the license. And, I think the residents are going to hear, anytime it's at 7:05, the call's going to be made to the police. Anytime it's recorded, the call's going to be made to the police, and we're going to have the information we need to be able to proceed. But I think we can say, stick to the license, because expanding beyond it is not what the residents want.
Is Mr. Flynn just,
We have to go to this
The
microphone.
podium.
just for clarification, and I appreciate what you've just said, because I believe what I'm asking is that we do not expand the hours. However, we are willing to continue with the 2 days a week, 4 to 7, without the expansion. So I just wanted clarification, I guess, from you, is if that's exactly what you were saying back to us right now.
That's what I'm leaning towards. I'm not sure that the rest of your community agrees with you.
Right.
I think they would be thrilled to have it be no entertainment.
Right, and I can appreciate that. However, I can also appreciate that the 2 days, the existing license, I just am against expanding what is currently part of what the request is.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
Well, actually, that's where I am right now. And I feel that I'm more than happy to approve a license that's Saturday and Sunday only 4 to 7. I'm concerned about the amplification, but if that's what the license was last year, I'm willing to say, let's continue. But I think Mr. Flynn certainly has heard the complaints and needs to take heed. And so the community has an opportunity to file formal complaints, and we would then have a history that we could act on with a legitimate basis for denying some future activity.
Before you even got to that point, I would push Mr. Flynn to reach out to the community and say, if you ever hear it bothers you, let me know so I can immediately turn the volume down, or I can know about it. But to set up the communication system between them first, and then the complaint ideally doesn't have to happen.
Right.
Mr. Crotty?
Can I say just, that is what happened with the merry-go-round at Mullen Hall School. They posted this telephone number around the fencing around that merry-go-round, carousel, excuse me, I was looking for the word. And if there was any noise issues because of reverberation off of the building, and there were abutters very close by, they knew the number to call, and the managers took responsibility for getting that music down. And I don't think we had any complaints at all, as a matter of fact. So I think this could work.
There was also
I was just going to say, if it's appropriate from a neutral observation of the discussion, I don't have an axe to grind either way, but I have been by there when the music is playing. And I think Mr. Patterson made a good suggestion if it works for Mr. Flynn. It seems like the big issue is really the amplification more so than the entertainment. And maybe try toning it down. Because my observation, and I'm not an acoustics expert, and I enjoyed the music, is for as small a place as that, I don't think you need much amplification to entertain the people that are there. And that, I mean, if I'm reading between the lines, the biggest problem is how many people can hear this and how loud it is. And I would think if he's willing to take your suggestion as to see if toning it down helps, I might even say, you know, a place that small, you might not even need it. That's, you know, I'm just trying to make it work for both sides. It just seemed obvious to me.
Mr. Dufresne?
One last comment. I'm a little disappointed that the Susan Moran, a select person, associated her living on a state highway across from Bourne Pond with people who have lived, and I think, Kevin, were you born in Falmouth Heights?
No, but my family's been there for
'For 100 years.
47
I mean, you're
years.
talking, these people have been there for years, and we've watched the progress of this particular establishment go from a nice little family restaurant into what has turned into like a semi-nightclub. And, you know, for you to compare that, Sue, I'm very disappointed. Don't ever do that again, because I'll come right at you. But anyway, you people have a decision, and is it going to be based on the number of complaints that they give every year for you to make a decision that amplification is not necessary or should not be an extension of a going business?
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
Good evening.
State your name for us.
My name is Ted Murphy. I am a minority partner at Silver Shore Shanty. I am a year-round resident of Falmouth Heights for 40 years. I want to say something to Mr. Dufresne. I do not like how...
You have to address me.
I do not like how Mr. Dufresne just addressed Ms. Moran. This should be a civil type of thing. There shouldn't be shaming. Obviously, both sides here, we have different feelings. I feel like we can work together. Why I became a minority partner at Silver Shore Shanty was not to make a ton of money. I'm a writer by trade, so I don't make a ton of money.
Okay, I think we actually have enough information for us to make our decision.
Okay, okay. I was just going to say, as I was talking with Mr. Flynn, we really want to work with everyone, but it is family-friendly music, and we did hold back. We didn't want it to become a circus. We didn't bring in all our supporters. We wanted you guys to make your decision. Okay. If it does carry over, we'll be glad to bring a lot of Falmouth residents, Heights residents in particular, to come talk about this. Thank you.
We ready to move?
I am.
I have a question of the applicant to see what the effect would be on his business if the application is less than what was asked for.
I don't think he's going to be able, he doesn't know because he's never had it for 7 days.
Well, he would be in a position to know.
In response to your question, and to show you that I'm a good neighbor, and I want to be a good neighbor, I have no problem with just doing Saturday and Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. And we'll lower the amplification if it makes everybody happy.
So moved.
Second.
So the motion is for the granting the entertainment license on Saturday and Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m., live music only, allowing application for one player of either guitar or keyboard. And a strong encouragement from this board to create a system of open lines of communication from the residents to the owner on any issues they may have. And the second push from the board is, if that doesn't work, please make sure that the complaints are on file. Then the process is, we can actually hold a hearing to be able to change a license. But the process is, if a license has been approved and there aren't complaints, we can't formally hold a hearing to make a change. The only thing we can do is either to renew, and I actually don't think we can even deny without having gone through the process of holding a formal hearing based on formal complaints. So that's where our hands are a little tied to either doing the status quo or having a hearing. Okay? We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you very much for your time.
And I hope we can make this a win-win situation.
Thank you, members of the board, I appreciate it.
Next item is to hear petitioners' presentations on our two petitioner articles. Article 13, Mr. Finneran.
Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. Which, I don't know the order they're in. Can you read?
No, you have to guess.
He's kidding.
This is, shall town meeting vote to require that any item in the capital budget contain more than one legitimate estimate?
Okay. This is pretty simple. Oh, Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. Lately, if you look in the capital budget, you'll notice that all the items are like 1 or 2 digits followed by a certain number of zeros. In researching the thing, there was items that we voted to give the money for, and when the actual item was purchased, it was for 50% more than the amount that we voted at town meeting. There have been other items that are under. The many items that are never purchased at all. It seems like a way just to stack your budget with extra money. But what really cemented this in my head was the last town meeting when we gave, it was $150,000 for the roof of the police station. And when asked, someone from the DPW said that they took an old estimate from Gus Canty and figured that it would be about the same. If you were in a business, you get laughed out of the room for doing something like that. And this town should be run like a business. If we're going to give you money for something, we really need to know what it is. I can recall a time when there was a number, a nice round number too, followed with a bunch of zeros, and nobody knew whether it was for 1 item or 3. And to my knowledge, whether it be 1 or 3, the purchase hasn't been made yet. I think just having a legitimate estimate should be a matter of course, a no-brainer. It should be the way anyone does business anyway. It's the people's money. If it takes a little more work, fine. People work for their money. And this all leads into what I've been saying for years, that this town really needs a town-wide purchasing agent. I mean, having each individual department head in charge of their own budget, buying from whoever they want, in my opinion, is wrong. Wronger in some cases than others, and you lose the ability to get volume discounts. Again, businesses wouldn't run that way, but this town does. And I'll have a more complete presentation at town meeting with more information, you can be sure.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll be voting our recommendations after the presentation on Article 14. This is to rescind the funding in Article 28, Spring 2014, for the Bournes Pond Inlet widening as the benefits appear questionable.
All right, this is kind of a chicken or the egg one, which came first. As far as the Bourne Pond Inlet widening, I was hearing through back channels that there was certain disagreement whether it actually worked. And of course, all this information isn't available to the public. We have a real problem in this town with information. Last time I can recall was the solid waste report that we got in June, but Mr. Suso didn't release till late December or January.
This topic, please.
So it's all interrelated. I can't stop. It's all part of the thing. After I put this article in, the deadline for articles, there was a meeting, there was information brought forward. But again, like I said, there's always a dearth of information in this town, and I'll have more to provide at town meeting floor on this subject as well. And again, it's just a matter of providing proper information to people, which isn't done to the level that I believe it should be.
Any questions? Okay. Next item is to vote the recommendation on location of the Consolidated Communications Center. Mr. Suso, do you want to take the start on this?
Certainly, happy to, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, we prepared a spreadsheet for the board's consideration, which laid out a number of different options for potential location of the town's consolidated communications center. That's a concept that has, of course, been approved by this board, and it was presented in several different forms to a recent town meeting, for which equipment dollars have been set aside in endorsement of the concept, and a portion of requested dollars for facility improvements has been appropriated in furtherance of consideration of a final preferred location for this communications center. We're asking the board for your recommendation. We would then be taking that to the Finance Committee, and we do have an annual town meeting article, as the board is aware, for which we would request some additional consideration. I do want to underscore that since December, a consultant's report, the matrix study, has been posted on the town website. It took a comprehensive look at the entire concept of consolidated communications, and it confirmed considerable annual cost savings to the town, well in excess of $100,000 annually with such a consolidation, and the fact that the equipment acquisition for this consolidation would be considerably less expensive than maintaining the current system of two standalone dispatch centers. The existing equipment at those centers is beyond its useful life, as has been confirmed by both the police chief and the fire chief. The other great advantage in this concept, by consolidating, we would be enhancing the level of service to residents. There would be essentially one-stop shopping for communications, rather than needing to have signals transmitted back and forth between two different locations, police and fire, which can be a considerable disadvantage in an emergency. We've seen examples of that in the past and even more recently. And it also allows dispatch services and communication services regarding public works and regarding marine and environmental services to be provided through this same 24/7 operational department. And I would respectfully ask the board's consideration of indicating your preference for a location. We have visited some of these centers, and the spreadsheet, which has also been posted on the town website and for which the board received or provided for a public comment period a week ago. You've gotten some feedback as well, and be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Before we actually vote on the location, I was struck by three very, very strong recommendations from the matrix report. One is that a consolidated dispatch center would be more efficient and provide a better safe system for our residents. The second is it needed to be a separate, the second recommendation is it needed to be a separate department and could not be located in the police station or the fire station because then it would not be separate. And the report was very, very straightforward and direct about those three things, the advantages, and that the physical location really could not be under the umbrella of either the police department or the fire department. I had a very strong question about that. And in talking to other people who've done done consolidated dispatch, it has confirmed that you really have to stick with that model of not going under either the fire department or the police department.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to echo that or comment on that further, it clearly, to be successful, a concept like this needs to be at a neutral site. It cannot be under either the independent control of the police department or the fire department. Again, that is our current system with two standalone facilities and fairly significantly cost inefficient for the taxpayer. And again, our consultant, which did a very comprehensive study, again, it's posted on the website, confirmed an annual cost savings of over $100,000, which would be available for utilization on the many other priorities that this town, which this town has significant demands.
Discussion? Motion?
I'm very much in, sort of appreciate the addition of the Gus Canty Center short-term repurposing, because I think there was legitimate concern at town meeting for use of buildings and really to maintain active place for our young people and older folks alike with all that the recreation center does. I did listen carefully to Helen Kennedy, that she did think this stage area could be an appropriate use, but I think the town's needs, can change going forward, and so I'm in favor of the short-term repurposing, which is option 13.
And I would say that I think it's also important to recognize that not only is this an emergency response dispatch system, it's also a way of unifying communications for the town. And in talking with other municipalities around Massachusetts, I'm becoming aware that with the new social media methods of communicating to people, that it really is very helpful for people to be able to get news that might affect their daily travels, or ongoing emergency responses that might block their passage or might involve their own family, that this is a way of unifying the kind of communication that this town is doing. And it could probably even be broadened to include some of the things that we're posting on our website right now, the town's website. But I think that function is going to enhance the so-called consolidated dispatch system, because it's going to be more than that. It's going to be a centralized communication system as well. And I've toured the Gus Canty Center stage area. We know that it's rarely used for any function, but I can tell you in looking at it, it's a terrible stage. And so repurposing it for something like this is going to take advantage of an already existing town asset, and the conversion looks like it's going to be pretty straightforward in terms of power. There's going to have to be some modifications, needless to say. And I might say that it's not going to change the use of that facility should it be converted back, say in 5 years, when we decide that this particular communication facility should be relocated somewhere else.
What is the reality of that option of the relocation? With what we're purchasing, is it something we actually can put here and then 4 or 5 years, once we've worked with it for a while, decide fairly easily we can move it someplace else?
That's a great question. We fully anticipate that the fundamental equipment would be modular, and therefore could be relocated. Granted, it is at some expense, but not an extraordinary expense. Again, the equipment and the consoles are designed in a way that they are modular, and one of the advantages of this potential location is the way it is constructed would allow modular components to be integrated very cost effectively from our review and our analysis.
I just want to really echo Sam's point, because I hadn't focused on the safety element, that we really get a lot more options and really completely up to date, whether it's homeland security kind of issues or just safety issues with considering the winter we've had and otherwise. And in terms of the new consolidated center, not only the efficiency of saving, 100,000 or over and being able to put that money toward another town need, but really the modernization effect I hadn't focused on, so I appreciate that.
Motion?
I move that we recommend the use of the Gus Canny Center, and particularly to repurpose the stage area for the Communications Department location, Consolidated Dispatch Center.
On a short-term repurposing or on the?
I think we're basically setting the course and we'll make a decision later on, but I'm not saying short-term. I think this is a commitment we're going to make and we'll see how it goes.
Seeing how it goes, I interpret as being the short-term in Doug's question about whether the equipment is movable. If we decide in 5 years that we want to move it, we can. That's what option 13 signified to me. Am I incorrect about that?
I'd be more comfortable with the motion just saying we're going to go ahead with Gus Canty as the location of this. And with the notion that it may happen that way, but I'm not sure I would want to restrict to saying we are only going to use it for 5 years. And I'd worry that that motion might be interpreted as saying you're doing 5 years and then you're moving out. And I'm not sure we know that for sure.
That's my intent, that we're saying we're going to make this commitment, but as we do for any facility, we evaluate and we adapt for the benefit of the citizens, not for any particular special interest group, but basically asking ourselves what's going to work the best for Falmouth citizens and this community that we live in.
And I would hope the board in 5 years would say, boy, we really need that space back for a rec center. Let's figure out where we can put the consolidated dispatch at that point.
So option 7 you're referring to?
Yes.
And I'm not sure we necessarily need to choose 1 through 13 as much as give the town manager direction saying the location that we're suggesting is the Gus Canty stage.
I think we have to make it clear that we're either looking at it as short-term or not, because that's part of what we vetted, that the community has looked at, that the Recreation Committee had spoken about. So I think we have to be clear about that if we're voting to repurpose it under 7, with the reality being, of course, we can always change things in the future, then I'd be willing to second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, unanimous. Thank you. And we'll now move on to vote the articles, the article recommendations for both the annual and the special town meetings. And this is something we need to do tonight because we need to publish them or send them to the printer on Friday. So, Article 13 is capital expenditures. Shall town meeting vote to require that any item in the capital budget contain more than one legitimate estimate? Petitions article and request of Mark Finneran.
Point of order, is this an article that we should be making a recommendation on, or is this just going out to the town meeting with the proponent's recommendation as printed?
According to the charter, the Board of Selectmen is required to make recommendations on all petitioners' articles.
Oh, okay. I move indefinite postponement on Article 13.
I'll second if so you want to assume. I'll second. Discussion?
My discussion would be that if it's getting one bid, then I want to read the article again.
Shall town
This
meeting
is
vote to
13,
require that
okay.
any item in the capital budget contain more than one legitimate estimate?
Okay, more than one, it already contains one. Okay, my question was answered, thank you.
discussion?
Ready to
All
vote?
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we need an explanation for this also.
Oh, well, I would say, if I can defend my motion, a recommendation, that in coming up with estimates, I mean, it's important to come up with an estimate that's well-founded. But when you're doing estimating, you're not going to be able to get people to come in and give you a formalized, detailed bid. They're just not going to commit the resources to give you that kind of, and to ask two different companies to do it, especially if there's no authorized money to even pay for the project. I think you're just Sisyphus, pushing the rock up, and it's going to come right back down on you because you're not going to get the kind of bids that Mr. Finneran is actually hoping for.
I'm sure there are also procurement policy issues too that would come into that.
The only note I would add is that the conversation is welcome. The practice we've had in the last couple of years, which has worked excellently, is after the board's discussion, we'll draft recommendations and review them with the chair or the vice chair in the absence of the chair prior to submitting them. So you don't have to feel you need to write explanations this evening.
Thank you.
And I understand Mr. Finneran has concerns with the estimates. I do know the amount of work that is put into a vast majority of them, and I do remember the incident he's talking where we did have discussion, I think, as to whether we were buying one trash compacting trash can or three. But I think in general, there's a lot of work that is put into getting legitimate estimates for the capital budget. Okay, Article 14. Shall the town meeting vote to rescind the funding in Article 28, Spring 2014, for the Bourne's Pond Inletting as the benefits appear questionable? Again, the petitioner's article, request of Mark Finneran.
Move for indefinite postponement.
And I will second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, I think that the presentation by the Water Quality Management Committee in support of the inlet widening has taken place. We've got a very thorough report. I think it's well-founded. Certainly there's uncertainty associated with anything like this, but I think if you look at the projections that were developed by reputable consultants, there's going to be enough mitigation of nitrogen loading by increasing the flushing of fresh water, fresh ocean water into the Bourne's Pond area. Even though it doesn't reach up to the very headwaters of that pond, it's going to create a significant improvement in the lower portion of Bourne's Pond. And so I don't understand, and perhaps Mr. Finneran's information predates the recent presentations that were made by that committee, but I feel like the background materials are quite convincing and I think well worth us moving forward at this point to try this and find out whether widening of inlets in certain locations is going to contribute a significant amount to reducing the nitrogen loading in these ponds.
As opposed to sewering everywhere.
And that's right, and this is a modest investment by comparison to putting sewering and expanding sewage treatment facilities, which we will have to do if we choose to sewer anymore. I think we've pretty much reached the capacity of the West Falmouth sewage treatment facility at this point. So this is an attempt to avoid more costly methods, and it's got some good science behind it. That's my feeling, having read those reports in fairly good detail.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of indefinite postponement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. Article 15. Is to see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 180, Section 6 of the Code of Falmouth, connection to sewer required, by adding the following sentence. The connection shall be made by a plumber licensed in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and their work shall be inspected and approved by the Department of Public Works, Wastewater Division, before the connection is activated. We have a recommendation.
I move that we recommend this article as printed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are you okay with an explanation on that one? Okay, indeed. Article 16 has to do with the local comprehensive plan. And the article is to see if the town will vote to update the following goals and policies of the local comprehensive plan dated April 2005. think the recommendation is that we have a few little edits we want to make. And so do you want to read the recommendation now as we're hoping it's going to be, which I think is a few other little changes?
Right, the one I wanted to suggest most specifically is the third bullet under policies, to delete regardless of, and instead replace it with separate from.
Could you read that? I'm not sure where you're at.
Sure. The third bullet under policies, it's Falmouth shall accept responsibility for providing housing for people at all stages of life and all levels of income, separate from mandatory state statutory requirements. It had, the word printed was regardless of state statutory requirements, and I don't think that's really possible. So I think with the intent, having listened carefully to the planning department, make this careful plan, I think separate from would still get them to the goal.
Mr. Chairman, are we getting the last, you seen the last bullet point as well?
No, I'm going to actually go ahead and read what I believe the recommendation is.
Okay.
And that the recommendation is the town meeting vote to update the goals and policies of the local comprehensive plan dated 2005 as follows. Goal for the housing element. Falmouth will meet the housing needs of, and this is the other suggestion, the entire community. And that's instead of everyone in the community, of the entire community. And then the policies for the housing element. Falmouth will allow for greater infill residential density where appropriate. Falmouth will allow and encourage the market to create multiple housing opportunities that allow for more choices. And Falmouth will accept responsibility for providing housing for people at all stages of life and all levels of income, separate from mandatory state statutory requirements. And that's it. And so I've just read your recommendation.
Yep, great.
Very good.
Sam, second?
I'll second, excuse me.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I just mentioned that actually a lot of this language change came as a result of our joint meeting with the planning board. So this is pretty much in harmony with the originators of this particular article.
And the planning board is on board with these changes. It's not something that they feel they need to have brought back to them to then say it again.
Right.
But it is our recommendation. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Unanimous. That's the annual town meeting. Move on to the special town meeting. Article 6 is the room occupancy tax. This is to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen.
Point of order? I think it's Article 7.
Did I say, what did I say?
I said 6.
Article 7, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the general court for special home rule legislation as follows. Notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary, the town of Falmouth may impose a room occupancy tax in addition to such occupancy tax currently allowed by law on any vacation or leisure accommodation including, but not limited to apartments, single or multifamily housing, cottages, condominiums, and timeshare units, as well as any other vacation or leisure accommodation not expressly taxed pursuant to the provision of general laws, Chapter 64G, at the rate of 6% of the total amount of the rate for each occupancy. Vacation or leisure accommodation is further defined to include only paid occupancy for a period of 90 consecutive days or less, regardless of whether such use and possession is as a lessee, tenant, guest, or license, but excludes those accommodations specifically exempted from general laws, Chapter 64G, in Section 2 of that chapter. And to state that the legislature may vary the form of the enactment in order to properly achieve its objectives or take any other action relative thereto.
I move Article 7 of the special town meeting as printed.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I just might quickly say that this is an effort that's being taken on by municipalities across all of Cape Cod. And I'm also here, we're also getting complaints from those businesses like bed and breakfasts who are paying the rooms taxes and the motels and the hotels that are paying the room taxes. But then they're seeing people who are condominiumizing or renting out their properties during the summer who aren't paying these taxes. It represents a significant loss of revenue to the town, but it also represents an a non-competitive advantage when they're not paying the taxes as a cost of doing business. So it seems to me to be an unfair situation that needs to be remedied, and so we're really joining with other municipalities and petitioning the state to give us the opportunity to actually tax these other types of businesses that are not currently underneath of the law.
And a good part of it goes to the town.
Indeed. Some to the state, but also to the town.
And if I believe I'm accurate that the rate currently that the very few people are paying is a 4.5% rate. So this is actually a two thing. We're not only expanding who's getting it, but we actually are increasing the rate to 6%. Is that?
I'm
not certain about
I don't, that's a separate, that's not part of this article.
Well, it is at a rate of 6%.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And
we'll have
Oh,
to
it
get
is.
back to the board on that.
okay,
Yeah,
that's what I did hear from one person who said that the current rate is that, but we'll look into that and make sure.
okay, yep.
And did feel it made a lot of sense if we're going to make a change in this, to do it not piecemeal, but to go ahead and do it at one step. I think to do otherwise would be a little bit misleading. Say, we're going to increase who's being paid, and then our plan is a year from now, and now bump it up. I would rather do it as, so if it is a change, to say, it makes sense to go ahead and do that.
Can I make one other comment? I mean, this makes sense because we're really not taxing the citizens of the town. We've raised permitting fees, raised all kinds of fees for the citizens of the town. Well, these are people coming here as guests who are not even paying as much as other guests are paying within the town. So I think this is one of those that sort of makes sense to me.
Any discussion? I guess I need a motion and a second then? I think you did.
I thought we did.
You did. Yes,
Yeah,
we
I
did.
Moved and I seconded.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous.
Next issue.
Next issue.
I just want to note that on this next item, Article 18, collection container bylaw, there's a completely new
Yeah, I'm not going to read it.
amended bylaw. The key change really is that the zoning district changes from an industrial district to the business zone, and that was reviewed by town council and the town planner, as well as some other minor amendments, but it does not change the intent at all.
So you say these are minor wording changes to this bylaw, but not as substantial change to the impact?
From industrial to business district 2.
Okay, gotcha.
But the whole collection container bylaw is a new bylaw.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
In your sheets, you'll see that what's printed is different than what we were recommended, that we've had some changes to what was originally put forward, and those changes are fairly minor. But the collection container bylaw is fairly significant and substantial.
Well, I move Article 18 as printed in the revised version.
As recommended.
Right.
I'm sorry, I recommend Article 18 as printed in its revised version.
Second.
Any discussion? All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. Our Article 19 is dealing with the East Falmouth Highway and White's Landing Road. This is authorize the Board of Selectmen to purchase or take by eminent domain a permanent easement to widen and relocate the intersection of East Falmouth Highway and White's Landing Road in East Falmouth. I will not read all the compass bearings of exactly where it is. It is our-
Let's see. I move Article 19 as printed.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Well, just a question, just for clarification. I'm not sure if people understand where this is and how what it applies to, but perhaps an explanation that people could understand other than, lot numbers and that sort of assessment numbers. This is the boat landing next to Bosun's Marine, which used to be Edwards Marine, am I correct?
Yes.
And so this is actually opening up the lane that leads down to that ramp, which has been pretty narrow and difficult to get into. Am I correct in my interpretation of this project?
And we will have a map accompanying this for town meetings, further information.
Okay, thank you.
Quite correct. Thank you.
the permanent easement is a 500 square feet total. The other two are temporary construction easements that are a little bit larger.
Right.
So all those in favor of Article 19, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. Article 22 is to vote to accept the doings of the Board of Selectmen in laying out White Pine Lane, Sandwich Road to Lakeshore Drive.
Motion to recommend is printed.
I'll second, for the sake of
Discussion?
moving this on. Well, Heather has,
I would just note that the Finance Committee has the role of appropriating the funds, so there's an article, I think it's either 21 or 23 of the warrant, whereby there's a request for appropriation. This is simply the road layout.
thank you.
And technically, we have not done the laying out of it yet. Technically, we have to wait for 7 days before we can do that. But
Correct.
we can still make this recommendation
Certainly.
contingent upon that actually happening.
Right.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. Article 23 is to see if the board will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to purchase or take by eminent domain a conservation restriction. This is on the property near Oyster Pond with the Woods Oceanographic and the Conservation Commission for open space and passive recreational purposes.
I move Article 23 as printed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Ayes have it. Now we're on. Individual selectmen's report. Sam?
Yes. On Thursday, I attended a seminar on storm hazard planning and the impacts of sea level rise, sponsored by the Cape Cod Commission. It was very enlightening. They had two representatives from New Jersey come up that have been involved in in the recovery from Hurricane Sandy, and then also in the efforts of trying to plan to help offset some of the expected coming. We know it's going to come inevitably, but what can we do to help mitigate the damage that's occurred? Huge amount of property loss, huge number of people that even now can't get back into their homes. We've heard on the news that there have been difficulties with FEMA appeals processes where essentially the same group of people that denied insurance coverage are sitting to hear the appeal, and people not being able to advance their case for actually getting additional amounts under a claim. Pretty messy situation. And then, we have plenty of science that indicates that the sea level has risen 8 to 10 inches in Woods Hole over the last 75 to 100 years. These are realities. And so what the Cape Cod Commission has done is develop some tools that actually help us anticipate just what kind of effects we're going to see of additional storm surge damage in helping us plan. It's raised the questions of, can we begin to look at how we can mitigate some of these unfortunate weather-related storms? Can we make some judicious decisions to accommodate such things as infrastructure? Should we be looking for alternate paths for roads and that sort of thing? So this is what the seminar was about. Very well done. There's a follow-on session this Thursday that I will be attending also. Let me just say that the efforts of our planning department in producing that hazard mitigation plan for Falmouth, it's a draft form, but my hat's off for all the work that, in particular, Marlene McCollum has put into drafting that. She was also a presenter at this seminar and did an excellent job. And it's nice to see that we're there looking at what we can do and looking at our alternatives to try to make this community a little bit more resilient to hurricane-type storms. We know what's happened to our northern neighbors as a result of the nor'easters that they've been pounded with over the last few months. And then we also were at a meeting at NOAA, and we're looking at damage that was done by Hurricane Sandy here in Falmouth, even though not anywhere near to the extent that New Jersey was pounded and destroyed. So anyway, that's it. It's, you know, it's an opportunity for us to look at the science, look at the history of other people's impacts, look at our own history of Hurricane Bob, and try to make some judicious changes to how we are laying out the infrastructure or supporting or maintaining or repairing the infrastructure in the town as a result of various storm damage events. Let's see, also, along with Sue, attended the Cape Cod Selectmen's Associated breakfast where we had a number of our state representatives present, David Vieira, representing the northern part of Falmouth, Sarah Peak, Providence, let's see, Brian Mannell from Barnstable, and Tim Whalen from the Dennis and Yarmouth areas, coming and telling us about the kinds of things that they're trying to advocate on behalf of the Cape communities. There were also staff members from Vinnie DeMaceda's office, and I think also Tim Madden's office.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so we're there trying to, you know, inform our legislators of the kinds of needs that we have here in Falmouth, in hopes that at the state level, they're advocating on our behalves. So that's, those are the two major items. I've participated in other committee meetings, but I'll stop at that.
Okay. Sue?
He did a nice job.
Okay, great. Mr. Suso, Town Manager's report. Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As of this writing, the town deficit on snow and ice operations for the multiple challenges of the past 6 weeks of winter is in excess of $1.4 million. Selectman Patterson referred to that earlier in the meeting. While we remain guardedly optimistic of receiving a partial federal reimbursement through the state for the January blizzard event, we are proceeding to accommodate this additional spending in a responsible manner within the town's available resources. And clearly, as we know, all municipalities are similarly challenged. Given what appears to be a turning of the corner on major winter weather, we'll keep our fingers crossed since we were dusted with snow last night again. It is, of course, the advent of pothole season, and we urge care and caution by all motorists as Public Works moves forward to address this traditional seasonal challenge. We're asking all residents and motorists so affected to kindly report potholes as you would observe them with your cautious driving by either calling the Department of Public Works or certainly calling Town Hall, the Selectman and Manager's office, and that will facilitate our having an appropriate response to at least getting a seasonal correction and repair on these potholes and make our driving during this challenging season that much safer for all. We appreciate everyone's cooperation there as they drive carefully. I was pleased this past Friday morning to attend a legislative breakfast in Mattapoisett hosted by the Massachusetts Municipal Association. That is a series that they have normally every fall and every spring. Also in attendance were 4 state representatives from the Mattapoisett area, MMA staff, and multiple local officials. They provided comments on and a helpful summary of MMA proposed legislative initiatives to date for 2015 and 16, as well as timely updates on budgeting and spending proposals emanating from the governor's office. I personally had an opportunity to comment on the piece of special legislation that the board was talking about and took position on earlier this evening regarding a seasonal lodging tax and related matters of interest and concern to the town of Falmouth, so it was an excellent forum. I also wanted to remind everyone that our police department phone system conversion is underway and is continuing. The final cutover has been delayed slightly to ensure that we have a full transition compatibility, and we will keep the public posted on that. Of course, all numbers have either a message on them or an automatic forwarding, and this, as a reminder, this will in no way affect any emergency. No 911 circuits are involved in any way, so in any emergency, continue to call 911 as any resident has in the past and will continue to do in the future. These are business lines alone to the police department. And also, as Selectman Patterson noted earlier today, he and I were in attendance at a meeting at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration offices in Woods Hole. We met with Mr. Jack Moakley and a number of representatives from the Woods Hole Community Association regarding the proposed reconstruction of the NOAA jetty dock in Woods Hole. There are some issues of some controversy regarding the final disposition and design of that reconstruction, and it is a matter which continues in significant dialogue. So we will stay tuned to that and continue to keep the board posted. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
The only thing I will add is I did go down to Woods Hole on Sunday and have a long hour-and-a-half cup of coffee in Coffee O's, parked at one of the meters with the bags on it, and they looked quite professional and appropriate. And,
I passed a whole bunch of them.
Just because you could,
just because I could.
Just because you
We
could.
have 3.5 more weeks of that. Feel free to do that. Motion,
It's like walking your dog on the beach.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Lemon Lime, 176 Main Street in Falmouth, 508-457-4700. Lemon Lime.
Founder Abraham Penn taught a valuable lesson that has been part of a tradition since 1919 when he said, "I'd rather make a friend than make a sale." For more than 90 years, Puritan has been making friends as a unique family-owned company right here in Cape Cod. At Puritan Cape Cod on 199 Main Street, as well as Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis, you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment, and much more. Puritan Cape Cod, 548-0116 or PuritanCapeCod.com.